Speaking of the treaty there, signed in Brussels earlier today, well, our news editor Christine Vasquez was there with the Gibraltar delegation, and now she's down at the frontier where the real effects of the treaty will begin from midnight. Christine.
Well, Shalina, yes, and the frontier certainly seems to be the place to be. It's all happening here. All the strands are coming together for later on, for that ceremony to celebrate the end of an era and the start of a new one. So let me tell you, from where I'm standing, I can see that red and white party on the roof of the airport and the airport terrace. Everybody's there having a good time, just enjoying and celebrating, because there are many who will say today is a day for celebration. There's great interest from the press, mainly from the press in Spain. So a lot of reporters, slight organized chaos down here. So everybody's trying to stake their claim on where they can put their tripods, where they can put their cameras to get the best view of what will be happening later on. And there are things happening across the frontier, or certainly next to the frontier fence, behind me, the entrance. So things happening all over the frontier today. We can actually also hear the petardos, the firecrackers, obviously celebrating Spain 2-0 win. So, yeah, the frontier is certainly the place to be. And somebody who's been down here for a long time, actually since 7 o'clock, 7:30, is Paul and Mary Cartwright. It's really important to them. Today is a historic day. They have been waiting. They want to be the first to cross through. We actually interviewed them a bit earlier on because they didn't want to miss their place. Paul, you've been here for a couple of hours now. You want to be the first one to cross without your passport?
Well, one of the first ones if we can, yes, of course. It's a very important and historical moment for Gibraltar. And after Brexit.
Freudian slip. I think that's okay.
My apologies. I think it's the best outcome that Gibraltar could ever have. And it goes against everything that all the Brexiters wanted. So I'm really proud that the Gibraltar government, together with the Spanish government and the EU, managed to click this one out.
Marica, ¿has venido por tu cuenta o Paul te...?
Vengo por mi cuenta porque hemos luchado mucho por esto, hemos trabajado mucho con el Brexit, hemos ido a todos los marches posibles en Inglaterra y para nosotros esto es muy emocionante. Hemos luchado mucho por esto.
We've avoided the soft border, we've avoided the hard border, and now we have no borders. So Boris Johnson, Nigel Farage, and co. Thank you very much for what you tried to do with Gibraltar, but as we always say, we are as hard as the rock, and now we've got one step inside the EU, and who knows, tomorrow the whole of UK could probably rejoin the EU, and together with us, of course.
You said it was very important to you that it's a historic day, but have you been stressed about the whole thing? It's taken 5 years, these negotiations. So do you feel a sigh of relief today?
Well, yes, excellent. It's indescribable. I think it is the best outcome that could have possibly come for Gibraltar, because the reason why we fought against Brexit was that we didn't know what the hard border with Gibraltar was going to entail, and I think it's absolutely the best solution, the best agreement possible that we could ever have.
Mari, ¿cómo te sientes de que va a haber mejor vecindad?
Hombre, me siento emocionada, a la misma vez un poco preocupada por la incertidumbre que podemos tener aquí en Gibraltar, pero vamos, contenta por un lado, porque espero que sea para bien de los dos sitios, ¿no? De los dos lados, para nosotros que vivimos aquí y para la gente que viene de España, también para los trabajadores y para todo el mundo.
Well, I wish you the best of luck. I hope that you do make to be one of the first ones crossing across, because you have asked everyone, where do we cross? And nobody, not even the Spanish police.
No pasa nada. Por fin la línea de Gibraltar, vamos a ser un pueblo unido. Gracias a Dios.
It really is history in the making. Well, the treaty is the final result after a decade of negotiations since the fateful Brexit vote. The campaign for Gibraltar to remain in the European Union was headed by Gemma Arias-Vásquez, now a government minister, and expected to stand unopposed for the GSLP leadership once Fabian Picardo steps down. She joins Jonathan Sacramento down by the airport now, where there is also a reception currently underway at the air terminal balcony. Jonathan.
Yes, indeed. It's been quite busy at the airport today. First of all, a dramatic homecoming with the Chief Minister arriving from Brussels fresh with the signed treaty under his arm. Well, metaphorically under his arm. And now the airport terminal is the scene for quite a soiree, a reception here to celebrate today's momentous occasion. And there's quite a lot going on up there. There's a band playing. I think I've heard scores from the movies, and in particular Titanic and Armageddon. I'm not sure those are very appropriate for today's occasion, but nevertheless, I'm sure they've entertained the audiences there. We wanted to film to bring you some pictures from that reception. Unfortunately, we were not granted permission to film. We've respected that. We were told no filming inside the reception. No one said no filming from above the reception. So we've got a lovely shiny new drone in the skies, and we've taken some pictures for our audience of that soiree here at the airport terminal balcony. So yeah, everyone having a lot of fun up there, and one of the guests of honor, I would imagine, is the Chief Minister-elect, I suppose we can call her that, is Gemma Arias-Vásquez. Thank you for joining us out here and for taking some time out from the party itself. Gemma Arias-Vásquez, I bet that 10 years ago we never thought that we'd be standing here nearly midnight and with no border.
Well, Jonathan, as you know, when we led the Stronger In campaign on the 24th of June, it was a very dark day for Gibraltar, and we certainly did not know what the future held. So no, I did not envisage that this was going to happen 10 years ago.
So tell us what the vibe is, what's the atmosphere like up there, and what's the kind of tone that you've had amongst cabinet ministers today, seeing your Chief Minister arrive and sharing those moments with him?
So I think everyone's very excited. Everyone's very excited for what's to come. But I think we all need to also take a moment to think about that close-fronted generation and what it meant for that close-fronted generation. So I think it's important to remember how hard those years were for everyone that lived through it. And certainly we wouldn't be where we are today if that close-fronted group hadn't lived through the years that they did, and indeed survived through the years that they did to make us the very Gibraltarians that we are today, and indeed that we will continue to be.
So what can we expect for the rest of the evening as well? I mean, there's quite a bit of ceremony yet to go. Will you be taking part in that?
I think a lot of us will be taking part in that, yes. So I think that we'll all be coming down with the rest of the Gibraltarians that are down here today in order to witness the last moments of that frontier there.
And finally, Gemma, how will you be spending tomorrow? Are you going to be popping across the border without a passport? Everyone else seems to be doing it.
No, I'm not going to be popping across the border. I'm going to be walking up and down Main Street, coming here, seeing how customs here is getting along with businesses, seeing how businesses are faring in town, indeed coming here and going to Cabinet. Tomorrow we have a Cabinet session, so my day will be very, very busy, but I won't be exploring the novelty of crossing without a passport just yet.
Gemma Arias-Vásquez, thank you very much for joining us here. And yeah, definitely quite a lot happening up there on that airport balcony. It seems like it's in full swing, and hopefully we'll be getting some more reactions and some more interviews as the night goes by.
A night which will see seismic changes in Gibraltar and nowhere more than the frontier. Our reporter Kevin Ruiz is down at the Spanish side of the border.
Okay, so it's been a relatively quiet night here at the frontier until a few minutes ago. As you can see, it's gotten very noisy. Of course, people have been keeping away from the area because everybody's been watching that game, Spain versus France. And as you can see, everybody here at the frontier now celebrating Spain's 2-0 win against France. At the minute, like I say, we have no one coming down to the frontier because of the historic occasion. Everybody, as you can see, is coming down. They're driving around, dando spins, celebrating Spain's win. We've also seen people coming back into Gibraltar after enjoying a night out, possibly watching the game. We know the heart of La Línea, La Plaza Cruz Herrera, was packed to the rafters with people watching football, many people from Gibraltar included. Other than that, it's been relatively quiet. We just went really noisy seconds before we went live on air. The frontier, it's been a relatively quiet, ordinary Tuesday night. People just coming back into Spain from work, people heading back into Gibraltar after a night out, especially now that the game is over. Traffic now because of the wind, the Spanish wind. Spanish journalists have descended, of course, into the area. They've all gone across into Gibraltar now and have attended the event being hosted by the Chief Minister. Many will be coming back to La Línea closer to midnight. So everything could change in the next while. We're expecting people might be gathering here to witness a historic occasion. We understand that's already happening over in Gibraltar.
Wow, what timing. Thank you, Kevin, speaking to us live in La Línea there. Well, I'm joined here in the studio now by my colleague Rosa Stengo and by historian Richard Garcia, who will look back at the history of the frontier and what this change could symbolise for the future. Thank you both for joining me. Richard, first, just the significance of this moment in our history.
Well, it is a very significant moment. I'm old enough to remember when the frontier actually closed. And that was for vehicular traffic in 1968, 1 year before the full closure of the frontier. And I recall that the governor at the time, Sir Gerald Lathbury, went on television, and it was a momentous broadcast. So people sort of took that really, really seriously, and there was a very solemn atmosphere in Gibraltar at the time. And then when the frontier fully closed the following year, 1969, because between 68 and 69, only pedestrians were allowed to cross into Spain and from Spain into Gibraltar. And at that time, Gibraltar was like almost like a family in mourning. So it was hugely quiet time, and Spaniards were crossing from Gibraltar back into Spain for the last time before the gates closed. They were crying. So it was a very, very difficult moment for a lot of people, a lot of families. So when you contrast that with the jubilation now that we have not only an open frontier, but the removal of this frontier fence, which was a symbol, if you like. It was, some people, of course, called it the Garlic Wall. And this was even like an echo of the Berlin Wall, but Mediterranean style. And when that now is going, and is going to be the same sort of interchange and movement between Gibraltar and Spain as you have between Spain and Portugal or Spain and France. Now, that's something we've never, ever enjoyed. And that is radically new and something that I think is going to take a little time to actually sink in. But it is very significant.
Richard, can you just tell us about the history of the fence itself? When did it go up, and why did it go up?
Now, the line where the frontier is today was a line that was established back in round about 1730. So we're talking about nearly 200 years ago. And originally what you had was a line of British sentries, and they'd patrol across that particular line, and in fact they walked up and down so often that they actually made a track in the sand and in the earth right across what became sort of the frontier line. And it wasn't till 1908, so nearly 200 years after that, that you actually had the British erecting a fence. And when it was decided that we were going to put a fence up in 1908, they didn't finish doing it till 1909, but when they decided they were doing so, they informed Spain as a matter of courtesy not because they had to consult Spain and they thought, we'll tell them that we're doing it so they won't be totally surprised when it happens. The Spaniards in the 1890s had put up a fence on their side without consulting Britain, without saying anything. And there hadn't been any sort of big hoo-ha. But of course, when Britain went to put up that fence, then the Spaniards reacted. It took them 6 months to react, but they did react, they did complain. But eventually, they accepted that there could be a frontier fence when that magical argument was rehearsed by the British side, saying, of course, a fence will help to prevent and reduce smuggling. That kept the Spaniards quiet.
What did the fence look like back then?
The fence at the time was something like just over 2 meters high, surmounted by 3 strands of barbed wire. And that added another sort of 75 centimeters to the fence. So that was what the fence looked like. There were 2 openings. One where we know that standard opening into Spain. The other one's gone. The other one was at Western Beach, and that was to allow cattle to go backwards and forwards. But the cattle entrance was closed up after a while. So you then had, in 1908, 1909, this fence being set up by the British. And you'll note, if you look at pictures of that fence, that it's got these cement posts. This is the latest iteration of that fence, cement posts pointing towards, with straight up, and then at an angle at the top part, pointing towards Spain with barbed wire across the top. So that was not reciprocated immediately on the Spanish side by the Spanish fence. The Spanish fence wasn't maintained, and there were lots of holes in it after a while and lots of gaps.
So, tell me, did relations between Spain and Britain change significantly after that fence was erected?
Well, we've got to look at the wider picture, what was happening not just in Gibraltar, but also in Spain and in Morocco. Now, the fence, as I said, was going up in 1908, finished in 1909. But it was a time when you had a lot of concern on the part of Britain at the Spanish guns, big guns, that had been mounted in the hills in Spain, pointing towards Gibraltar. And this was just after the dockyard had been built. The works were completed in 1903. And because of these guns, there were even questions in Parliament saying, well, shouldn't we resite the dockyard and put it on the east side of Gibraltar so it would be out of range of Spanish guns? And in the event, they costed the exercise and decided it was too much money. So they didn't do that. But that was seriously considered. So you had that element on the one hand. Then you had the future of Morocco being discussed. You had the Algeciras Conference in 1906. And that was leading to the partition of Morocco into a Spanish protectorate in the north and deep south, and a very large French protectorate between the 2 elements of the Spanish protectorate. So that was something which Britain wasn't directly involved in, because it was a secret treaty between Britain and France. And that secret treaty, a couple of years earlier, said that France agreed that Britain could have free reign in Suez, the Suez Canal, provided that Britain agreed to France having a protectorate in Morocco. So that was the element that was going on. So you had, under this particular arrangement, and the partition of Morocco, which took effect from 1912, you had the southern part of the Strait of Gibraltar being completely under Spanish control. So the base in Gibraltar was all that more important for Britain. And over and above that, you had the King of Spain in 1906 marrying a granddaughter of Queen Victoria, Victoria Eugenia, known as Ina. And so the relations between Britain and Spain at that time, in the lead up to the wedding of an English princess with the King of Spain, that was particularly good, and was echoed in Gibraltar by the royal Calpe hunt, because you had the King of England, King Edward VII, and the King of Spain, Alfonso XIII, becoming the joint patrons of the hunt. So you had mood music, which was, on the one hand, very, very sympathetic between Britain and Spain, a lot of understanding, a lot of rapport between both sides, and politically an element of concern, the War Office, because of the guns, but at the same time saying, but really, we don't need to worry too much about those guns because of the good relation between Britain and Spain.
Fascinating stuff.
Well, let's
stay with us, Richard, because we are going to be asking you more about the history.
For now, let's turn to Jonathan Sacramento, who is at the airport now, I believe, in front of that party at the air terminal, and I believe he has a guest with him too. Jonathan.
Yes, it's getting even more boisterous up there now, but the movie orchestra scores have made way and moved to some jazzy piano. And we're joined now by a man who I'm told enjoys a bit of jazz, Nigel Feetham, Trade and Industry Minister. You like a bit of jazz?
I'm not sure I like jazz. I like other music, but perhaps not jazz.
Tell us, do you have recollections and thoughts about when the frontier first opened in '82?
I do, actually. I was a teenager, and I remember that we congregated here, the youngsters, the young people in Gibraltar, we congregated here after really being brought up in a Gibraltar with a closed frontier. And I remember very clearly we were here during that day when the frontier opened, and it was an amazing day, and things changed in Gibraltar, and things changed hugely for the better. And I think this is a historical day for Gibraltar, and in years to come we will look back and say, you know what, this was the right decision to take. I've been in government for 3 years. People perhaps don't realize how much work has gone into this. We've had cabinet meetings from one week to the next where I've left a cabinet meeting and I've said to myself, I'm not sure we can deliver on the treaty because of the so-called red lines. The Chief Minister has stuck to those red lines robustly, and we're here today. It says a lot for the work that has gone into this. I'm hugely positive, and I think that this is the right decision for Gibraltar, the right decision for the economy, and certainly the right decision for our grandchildren and our children.
Is it that sort of vibe, the sort of the 1982 frontier opening vibe that we have in Gibraltar today, or is it something completely different?
I think it's something completely different. I think people are cautiously optimistic, if I can use that phraseology. I think the vibes back then were entirely different. In other words, we had a closed frontier, a totally different scenario to the one that we are seeing here. But I think people need to appreciate that had we not done this deal, the consequences for Gibraltar would have been profoundly negative in terms of the economy. Most people look at the economy as something very remote, and I keep saying and I keep repeating in every interview that I do on GBC in particular that we've got to really think about the financial stability of Gibraltar. Nothing else matters unless we have a strong economy and strong public finances.
You can hear across the border all those car horns. That's obviously the reaction to Spain winning in the semi-final of the World Cup. Do you watch football? Do you follow it?
I'll be honest with you, I haven't watched a single match. But I tell you what, a Gibraltar company that we licensed in Gibraltar called Predict Street, we licensed them before the World Cup. They are one of the biggest sponsors of FIFA during the World Cup, and they tell me, because I haven't watched a World Cup match yet, that their title, Predict Street, ADI Predict Street, appears in every single match. We've licensed that company in Gibraltar. They are a Gibraltar-based company, and I'm proud of the fact that we licensed them in Gibraltar.
What can we expect over the next few days? Because, of course, they say the proof of the pudding is in the eating, and we've got all the details of the treaty, but, of course, it's all about how it will happen on the ground and take effect on the ground.
You know what, Jonathan? It's not what will happen over the next few days. It's what will happen over the next few months and probably over the next few years. I'll be honest with you. When you sign a treaty, both sides have a view, perhaps, on how the treaty should be interpreted. So I think the proof of the pudding is when there is a dispute relating to a particular area as to exactly how those conversations will develop. It's still very early to take a view, but I'm sure that things will certainly arise as a result of perhaps different parties taking a different view.
Nigel Featon, thank you very much for joining us. We'll let you get back up. I believe there are some speeches happening that you probably want to get to.
Thank you. God bless everybody who's watching this program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So there you go. I believe it's getting closer, isn't it? It's getting a little bit more exciting as the deadline for midnight draws near. And I believe my colleague Christine, who has been jet-setting around the world today, is getting ready to get closer to that midnight mark.
Thank you, Jonathan. Yes, that's right. Christine has had a very busy day. And as we count down to midnight, the atmosphere, as you saw in those images, is absolutely ramping up at the frontier. Christine is down there now. Christine.
Yes, here we are. I really don't feel like a jet setter at all, I must say. But yes, the atmosphere is heating up here at the frontier. There are actually quite large crowds forming around us. So there are crowds all the way, if I can sort of picture it, outside the airport, on the other side where the old customs house used to be. Okay, and then we have our intrepid cameraman, Darren. Again, he's going to try and give you a shot of those crowds. And yes, we're starting to fill up, as I said earlier, plenty of media interest as well. So it's all starting to feel exciting, but there's a slight tension as well, I must say. There's some chanting. We can still hear those firecrackers going off, and we can hear the cars beeping their horns in La Linea because of that football win. So great excitement, slight tension, I would say, but I think perhaps excitement stronger than anything else. And what we're waiting for at the moment, we're told, is there's a group of Spanish journalists. They're actually next to the frontier fence. So part of the commemorations will take place there at the frontier fence. And I'm told that the Chief Minister, Fabian Picardo, may not be on his own and may be accompanied by former chief ministers. We'll have to wait and see, but as Jonathan said, we are getting closer to the time.
Thank you, Christine, speaking to us live at the frontier there. Well, tonight it's all eyes on the frontier, and not just from Gibraltar and La Linea. There's also been international media attention for this seminal moment, both for the local area and the UK-Spain relations. And down at the frontier itself, there is an increasing number of people. Our reporter Kevin Ruiz joins us live there. Rather busy down there, Kevin.
Well, Shalina, it's certainly livened up just in the last few minutes. There's a whole crowd of people now lining up in the area, which is traditionally being treated as a sterile area by the Policía Nacional, by the Guardia Civil, the box there. It's crowding up. People are lining up. Many of them, I would say the majority of them, football fans. They've just started celebrating that win against France, 2-0 against France. Everybody's now grouping up at the frontier. A whole crowd of people lining up in the area before the Aduanas house, and many of them flag waving. Of course, we've heard many chants of Gibraltar Español from the people who are lining up, people who are walking by, people who've identified us as Gibraltar media. I've asked many of them why they're here tonight, whether it's to witness their history in the making. Many of them are telling me they're just celebrating the win, and now that they can, they will go into Gibraltar. Many of them intend to, of course, as was expected, to wave the flag, to celebrate the win. The border, there'll be no restrictions in the next few minutes, so it's all changed. As you can see, we've got the chants there of Gibraltar Español. Español. We've had that since our last live just 10-15 minutes ago. It's certainly livened up. Importantly, though, on the Spanish side, we have seen police presence step up in the last few minutes. We've seen a number of Policía Nacional. They've emerged from El Cuartel. They're now here. They're just standing with the crowd. No action has been taken. It's peaceful. It's very noisy. Yes, those chants of Gibraltar Español, but it's relatively peaceful. It's mostly noise. Now, everybody's waiting. Just a few minutes to go, everything will change.
Thank you, Kevin, speaking to us live from La Línea. Well, you're watching a special GBC News bulletin. It's still to come. More reactions and analysis ahead of the moment of truth, midnight, when the treaty comes into provisional application. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Trident is EORI ready for Gibraltar's new logistical chapter. As customs-approved transport and clearance agents with proven experience, trust Trident to keep your goods moving. Providing door-to-door transport, temperature-controlled services, warehousing, and customs clearances. Trust the experts, delivering since 1989.
Welcome to the Corner Shop, where expectations in painting and decorating go above and beyond, providing the community colour since 1947. From DIY enthusiasts to professional decorators, we offer trusted brands like Dulux, Armstead, Hammerite and more. Explore our expert colour mixing centre, plus DIY and decorating supplies. The Corner Shop, free parking and free delivery. Fill up, top up and let's go. The new Gib Fuel Plus loyalty app is here. Earn loyalty points every time you shop or refuel at Cepsa Gibraltar, Carrefour Express Gibraltar and all the Gibraltar petrol stations. Just sign up, scan your QR code, collect points and redeem rewards. Download the Gib Fuel Plus app at gibfuelplus.com and start your journey today.
Our world runs on momentum. From the first light over the rock to the plans we make for the days ahead, each moment carries us forward. For 150 years, Capurro Insurance has moved with that energy. Rooted in Gibraltar, reaching the wider world, built on the past, and looking to the future, wherever momentum takes you next. Capurro Insurance will be by your side, every step of the way.
If you have employees, then you have HR and payroll. And the computer software you use makes all the difference. EasyPay has been specifically designed to meet the needs of businesses in Gibraltar, whatever the size. For a free demonstration, call 200 741 21 and find out more online at easypay.gi.
Processing your hotel deposit for your upcoming trip.
Take a moment, because what matters most is worth protecting.
Looking for insurance that covers every part of your life? From your car, home and motorbike to your health, pets, boat and travel, we've got it all covered. We make insurance simple, clear and tailored to you. Visit us at 68 Irish Town, Monday to Friday 9 to 5:30 or Saturdays 10 till 2. Call 200 44628 or email gibraltar@ibexinsure.com. Ibex Insurance, making life easier.
Welcome back to this special edition of GBC News ahead of the historic treaty implementation. Just before the break, we showed you some images of the frontier and a lot of commotion growing over there. I'm joined now in the studio with my colleague Rosa Stengo and historian Richard Garcia. I'd first like to just unpack those images with you both, because they were quite surprising, actually. I'm not sure if we expected tonight to look like that.
To be honest, I thought if Spain beat France, that this is precisely the kind of reaction we're going to see. They're all going to be out there celebrating with their Spanish flags because of the football, and at the same time, the frontier with Gibraltar opens. We just Okay, we're actually going to the frontier now, and we can see the Chief Minister there. His Chief Minister, Fabian Picardo, is pulling down the last remaining part of the fence, and there it goes.
Wow. A historic moment for Gibraltar indeed.
Richard Garcia,
new chapter.
Yes, it is indeed a historic moment. I'm minded of the Franco campaign because, see, the animosity against Gibraltar on the part of Spain is really something which we inherited from the Franco regime. And I know that a Spanish journalist once told me that when he was a boy and was being educated in Madrid at a religious boarding school, the Salesianos, the grace before meals was, "Bless us, O Lord, and these thy gifts which we are about to receive through thy bounty, and return Gibraltar to Spain." That was the grace before meals in a school. So therefore, you had a whole generation or generations which have been brainwashed into thinking Gibraltar Español, Gibraltar is Spanish. So you can't expect that to change in 5 minutes because it's not going to happen.
And that is some of what we're hearing this evening.
Exactly. What we're seeing here is the fruit of that campaign, that insidious campaign from the Franco regime, which tried to convince everybody and successfully did. Because, see, if you hear a message from your government, you're going to believe it unless you have good reason not to believe it. So everybody believed it.
Yeah, now, despite the images that we've just seen, we've got the 4 chief ministers there, Sir Peter Caruana, Fabian Picardo, Sir Joe Bolzano and Adolfo Canepa. All 4 are on the same page with this treaty, saying it is the right thing for Gibraltar. So they are obviously fully aware of the sort of reactions that there are going to be, but they are very confident in the treaty that it is the right thing and that it won't dilute our sovereignty at all.
I suppose despite the reactions or images that we've seen this evening, it doesn't dispute what's next to come. No, the new chapter, we've heard so much about the new era of relations. I suppose it was always going to have some sort of reaction to begin with.
Yeah, again, you don't know to what extent the flag waving on the part of Spanish individuals is typical of the totality of the population there. And often it is a very small minority that make a lot of noise. So I think we've got to wait and see before we can actually judge.
Unfortunate coincidence with the football timing as well.
We are actually getting some reactions on social media from people who are watching these images and are not happy at all. One person says, is anyone going to stop these imbeciles from entering Gibraltar, shouting their usual chant and waving Spanish flags? Wonder what's about to happen. Other people have said, John says the EU and Spain cannot believe their luck, the end of Gib. You know, people, those doubts that began at that point that you were just talking about, you know, they're still there. And
we've got customs marching.
Those images tonight are not going to help the situation. Here we are.
Quite a juxtaposition. Those images we're seeing.
Duty out. That's it, duty done. Look at the crowd.
A big moment for those officers as well, no?
And it's very different from when the frontier opened after it had been closed back in 1982, when they couldn't find the key on the Spanish side to open the gate. And there was a very awkward episode there before the gates actually were opened on the Spanish side. So this time it's very, very different.
Much more straightforward than looking for the keys.
I mean, you can see there's an element of ceremony and of pomp and of circumstance. I think that Gibraltar, like Britain, we do ceremony very well.
On this side of the frontier, I'm not sure there's any ceremony apart from celebrations on the other side.
It looks a little bit more chaotic on the other side of the border this evening.
Yes. But the fact remains, Gibraltar has never necessarily wanted an open frontier with Spain, but it's Spain that has always wanted that access to Gibraltar?
Well, I think we've got to look at the history of the frontier, and Spain has never wanted to accept the frontier as a frontier. So even with the Córdoba agreement, every time the word frontier appeared in that agreement, it was frontier/fence, because for the Spaniards it was just a fence. Because if they accepted that it was a frontier, then they accepted everything on that side of the frontier towards Gibraltar was British, which Spaniards did not want to accept.
Well, let's cross over to our news editor now, Christine Vasquez, just to get a sense of what's going on at the border ahead of the treaty's implementation. Of course, we've seen those images. Christine, give us a sense of the atmosphere now.
Well, if it was buzzing a few minutes ago, it's certainly buzzing now because, of course, everybody's come down from that party from the airport. So it's quite packed, as you can see behind me. In front, there's the Gibraltar band. I think they're getting ready to perform Ode to Joy. That's, of course, been seen as traditionally as the European anthem. We've had the chief ministers there by the fence. And, of course, suddenly we've had a whole flurry of journalists trying to cross over to this side, and as I said earlier, everybody's staking their claim. So it looks like it's ready to happen. Customs are in place. They're ready to do their thing. It's, of course, the last day that we will have the customs post where they are at the moment before they move to their new place next to the airport. There's slight trepidation. We put all our stuff in there. We've put all our kit in their offices, and it looks a bit sad that it's all coming to an end. So further proof of the end of an era, but great excitement, and everybody's anticipating what's going to happen, what sort of ceremony we're going to have. And strange to see that we are underneath those three flags when we put the Commonwealth flag up after Brexit, and how the years have gone by. So it's just more history in the making, and it's all been made piece by piece. So here we are. We're awaiting the chief minister and the chief ministers to come here. I believe that they're going to be joined by the governor as well. So that's all happening in a few minutes.
Thank you, Christine. Some remarkable images there. Well, as Christine said, it is history in the making, not just on the Rock, but also across the border. Kevin Ruiz is in La Línea. Kevin, we saw it was getting extremely busy over there. Give us a sense of the atmosphere.
Well, Shalina, it's certainly picked up from just a few minutes ago. We've got a massive crowd down here now, and we've got all sorts happening. We've had abuse being hurled at Pedro Sanchez. As you can see, we're being surrounded by chanting fans. We've had people interfere with our work as we tried to report tonight, and of course those chants of Gibraltar Español with a flag waving. As the crowd continues to gather in the sterile area, what used to be the sterile area of the Spanish border, the crowd continues to come down, and it's only minutes before everything changes.
Yeah. Very exciting.
Kevin Ruiz speaking to us there. Some quite shocking images, I suppose, for people at home.
Not completely unexpected, I would say, but yes, that's a very hairy moment there for Kevin trying to do his work. He's been jostled by a lot of people. People are writing in, very sad day for Gibraltar. Our forefathers should be turning in their graves. People aren't happy.
I think when you see the crowd, when you see the flags, it will upset people, I think, at home.
Yeah.
For anyone who had a bit of doubt about the treaty, this will be quite difficult to watch.
Yeah, because, it is a political agreement, it's a legal agreement, but on the ground it means something more, Richard Garcia, doesn't it? It means more to a lot of Spaniards than just a political agreement.
Well, the fact that it is a treaty is particularly significant for Gibraltar, and is also a safeguard for Gibraltar, because it is a treaty made between the European Union and the United Kingdom, not between Spain and the UK, but between the European Union. So this actually is enshrined in a law. So we had the Córdoba Agreement, which was hugely beneficial to Gibraltar, because it was as a result of the Córdoba Agreement that you started to get fluidity at that border to a far greater degree than had existed previously. But that was only an agreement. So it meant that it could be broken by Spain if they chose to do so, and they did. They chose to walk away and renege from it. So this is a treaty which is different, and in that regard, it does protect us. Now, obviously, seeing persons coming into Gibraltar waving Spanish flags is not something that anyone in Gibraltar is going to welcome in any manner or form. But it shows more about the small-mindedness of the people waving those flags.
Richard, I'm just going to interrupt you because we've had some developments. We've had to stand our reporter Kevin Rees down. He's been jostled by a crowd, a very rowdy Spanish crowd, has felt quite unsafe in that environment. We've had to remove our cameraman there, and we understand, Shalina, that flags have been put up at Europa Point and at
Spanish
the mosque.
flags.
Yeah.
Yes. We are hearing some reactions online as well. Quite a few people upset at the images they've seen. Richard, how does this compare to what you saw when the border opened all those years ago?
Very, very, very different. Because at the time you did not have a Vox, you didn't have an extreme far-right Spanish party heirs to Franco and the Franco dictatorship. And obviously they've been planning this from, I would imagine, very, very meticulously, so that they could come and make their political point at our expense. So I think this is something which shows malice on the part of the perpetrators. But what I cannot begin to guess is to what extent these individuals are representative of the average Spaniard, or whether they are there purely as extremists trying to make a point, in the same way that you have sort of extremists in other
To be fair, there's probably a lot of alcohol consumed and the joy of getting to the World Cup final, but people are asking, where is the RGP? What's happening? People are starting to feel quite vulnerable seeing these images on television, flags going up in various places of Gibraltar.
It is just 3 minutes to midnight as well. So after midnight, what happens? Does this crowd just rush into Gibraltar? So we'll be following those images closely.
We're about to hear
the Chief Minister is about to speak, yes. There he is with Sir Peter Caruana.
And it'd be interesting, Shalina, to hear what he says about the images that we're
absolutely.
Quite calm on the Gibraltar side in comparison to the Spanish side.
Yes. A lot more chaotic on the Spanish side. Gibraltar does ceremony well, as Richard mentioned.
It's the different blend of people. Where you've got, say, sort of perhaps alcohol-fueled youngsters.
As Roz mentioned, they've all just watched the football,
people
most likely.
Coming with the euphoria of their football win versus sort of more serious, more sedate, more staid, more sober.
Following their win, it could well be the case that England plays Spain this Sunday.
A lot of comments coming into our the live feed on social media. People are saying, very sad day for Gibraltar, disgusting, and people support this. Just reading some of these comments, just a shorter route for illegal immigrants to claim asylum in the UK. Shambles, says somebody else. I really have not seen too many positive comments today, but certainly this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. It was already negative earlier today, but that will trigger people.
Okay, so hearing that that it's not that the Gibraltar side is quiet, it's just that people aren't supporting the treaty. Somebody says The other side is scary, many getting out of hand and allowed in with flags and chanting. This is going to be one very disturbing night. I do think we will be needing to speak to the RGP at some point.
Absolutely, it does feel like it took a little bit of a turn.
This is insightful behaviour, obviously.
Absolutely.
Chief Executive of the Borders and Coast Guard Agency of Gibraltar, please thank your officers for an excellent job. Well done, and ask them to withdraw.
So the Chief Minister has thanked Customs. But it is fair to say, Shalina, ceremony but not celebration, apart from the party that we saw on the airport roof.
Which is in quite sharp contrast to the images we've seen across the border.
There you go,
There he
Chief
is,
Minister
the Chief
and Juan
Minister.
Franco, the Mayor of
sharing this
La
moment
Línea.
together.
Yeah.
Celebrating their achievement.
On paper, very much.
Yes. Yeah. I wonder what Franco will have to say about some of the images that we've seen as well.
But of course, it is the first night. It is the moment. The frontier has just opened for the first time in history, Richard.
It is a huge moment, and it does signal the start of a new chapter in our relations with Spain. This moment will be remembered forever.
It is a very significant moment, not only our relations with Spain, but also our relations with Europe, because, of course, by being able to move seamlessly from Gibraltar into Spain, not only people, but also goods, that's something that we never had before. And obviously, by being able to move into Spain, it can move anywhere else within Europe. So this is actually a very, very significant moment for us, and one that we need to reflect on. And we need to set to one side the way in which a small number of very loud persons from the Spanish side are choosing to, if you like, sort of make a political gesture, on the one hand, with what this actually means in real terms for Gibraltar moving forward.
Let's turn now to Christine Vasquez, who is with the Chief Minister, Fabian Picardo. Christine.
Chief Minister, it's been a very emotional day, hasn't it?
I've run out of tears. For the first time in 15 years in politics, I've run out of tears. This is an emotional day, but now that I have crossed the frontier without a passport and without an ID card, I believe that we have done it. And I've heard Ode to Joy. Customs and the BCA have withdrawn. We've done it. Europe is back. We have an association with Schengen. We can now move freely, and we have cheated the worst effects of Brexit.
Well, Chief Minister, all is not rosy because we've had to pull our reporter from the other side because it's not a great ambiente after the football. There's a lot of Gibraltar Español.
Well, Gibraltar Español may be what people say, but it'll never happen. I don't think even they believe it. And look, they can say that. But what matters here is that we have a treaty that is going to enable us, on days when the football is good or when the football is bad, to deliver for our people what we needed, which is to avoid the worst effects of Brexit. Thank you very much, in particular, for the coverage that you have done this day so that everybody in Gibraltar has been able to see what has been happening in Brussels and here.
Chief Minister, I'm sure that there's time for harder news a bit later on, and we'll get the opportunity to do that.
Thank you.
So that was quite a short interview with the Chief Minister there.
Yes, I suppose he hasn't heard of the flags at Europa Point.
Possibly not, but I think the idea is to focus on the positives rather than on the negatives. And I think, as Christine said, there will be a time where we can sort of put some questions to him and have some further analysis. But I do think it is going to be on the agenda to speak to the RGP tomorrow to see
absolutely
where do we stand with the flags, and this will probably die down anyway. It's all sort of a novelty at the moment.
It'll heat up tonight. I suppose it was always going to.
Yeah.
We saw our side quite well behaved.
Yeah, you just need to show just maturity, and I think it was expected that this would be the sort of reaction, particularly on a night when Spain are potentially qualifying for the World Cup. So.
But a huge moment for the Rocket. You can see the Chief Minister really reflecting on finally getting there.
But you know what? It is a happy moment for Spain as well, because, it's, Gibraltar is part of the area.
Yeah. Let's not forget that Gibraltar has always been, historically, the source of wealth for a very large swathe of the hinterland, of the Campo area. So... even before the dockyard was built, because the dockyard employed 15,000 Spanish workers. That means 15,000 Spanish families that were getting their livelihood from Gibraltar. And before that, all through the 19th century, even in the 18th century, you had a lot of wealth being created in the hinterland from Gibraltar. And don't forget also, again, the historical perspective.
Let me just interject, sorry, Richard, just to join Christine Vasquez again, who is with Juan Franco at the frontier.
Señor Franco, muchas gracias por estar aquí con nosotros. ¿Cómo se siente?
Yo pensaba que esto nunca íbamos a verlo. Creo que esta verja, con todo lo que lleva aparejado, lo que ha hecho ha sido separar a dos pueblos hermanos, y no nos vamos a acordar de lo que pasó desde el 69 hasta el 82, porque es mejor olvidarlo. Y bueno, creo que hoy damos un salto a la historia. Estoy seguro que hacia adelante, y en nuestra ciudad pues esto puede servir como un incentivo para seguir creciendo y seguir penetrando nuestra economía con la de Gibraltar, en el buen sentido, y que entre todos consigamos esa zona de prosperidad compartida de la que tanto se ha hablado.
Un poco pena de que parece que se está liando un poquito después del fútbol, ¿no?
Hay que tener en cuenta de que ahora mismo mucha gente viene a ver el partido, es una aglomeración grande, ya está mandada la policía local, no tiene que haber ningún incidente digno de mención, y bueno, lo que sí estoy preocupado, te voy a engañar, es cómo Inglaterra entre en la final el domingo, que además domingo rociero tendremos que poner un dispositivo de seguridad especial para evitar incidentes.
Bueno, estos son los momentos que van a probar cómo el tratado se vive aquí, en la realidad, ¿no? Porque en agosto tenemos mucho turismo, tenemos un par de meses que vamos a aprender.
Yo creo que la realidad la vamos a empezar a vivir a partir de septiembre. Ten en cuenta que ahora mismo el tráfico está cortado prácticamente desde ahí, porque está el recinto ferial. El día 28 de julio más o menos se desmantela, y después vendrán una cantidad de curiosos enorme a ver esto de entrar en Gibraltar sin pasaporte, sin DNI como es. También habrá más flujo para el lado nuestro, y a partir de septiembre, cuando un poco pasen las vacaciones de verano y demás, creo que todo se estabilizará, y a partir de ese momento es cuando le tomaremos el pulso a la realidad. Esperemos que sea para bien.
Muchas gracias por su tiempo.
Gracias a vosotros, siempre. Gracias.
Juan Franco speaking to Christine Vasquez there. Well, as you said, it will die down.
But this is untrodden territory, so I guess we'll see what happens in the coming days and weeks.
Yep.
I think we have Jonathan Sacramento now waiting to speak to us.
Jonathan.
So we've managed to cross over ourselves without passport, without ID card. Everyone, every Spanish, British, Gibraltarian reporter who was on this side of the border and in the well-controlled press pen has burst straight into the border, because there's a lot of tension here. There's the Spanish crowd on this side of the border is rather animated. They've been shouting some remarks, some of which were less than neighborly, others directing themselves to Pedro Sanchez in less than polite terms. But generally they seem to be containing themselves, or at least they seem to be respecting the authority of the police officers who are keeping them at bay. I believe that just now a couple of cars have crossed in, two or three cars which were waiting patiently to be the first vehicles to cross over, and those are through, but there's no way any more vehicles will be able to come through because there is an absolute throng. It probably didn't help that the timing was unfortunate, and of course Spain has qualified for the World Cup final this very night, this literally just minutes ago, and the crowd here is riding on that wave of nationalism that has been generated by football fervour, shall we say. I have to say that in the last few minutes, whilst I've been talking, things have actually calmed down a little bit, but there's an underlying here. No one seems to know what's going to happen. It was expected. Most people here were expecting to be able to cross over when midnight struck, and a lot of them are carrying Spanish flags, which they hope to be bringing into Gibraltar. And of course, if it's a free-flowing border, I don't see how anyone's going to be able to stop them. But this is the reality, that we don't know what's going to happen. That at the moment, things are tense, and we don't know whether they will contain themselves, whether the police will be able to contain them. We are hearing some applause right now. I think that there's been some sort of interaction between members of the crowd who are being interviewed by the Spanish national media and one of the police officers who's keeping the blue line. For now, things are ready to move along, but they're being very much contained by the Spanish police. It could change any second here. I'll keep you posted as soon as I can.
Thank you, Jonathan, and thank you for sharing those images with us. Some police presence there we mentioned. We would like to hear from the RGP. Jonathan's said that the Spanish police, and then we've also seen...
We've seen quite a lot of RGP as well. And he said something quite interesting. He said that the Guardia Civil were containing the crowd, so there clearly some crowd control going there. And it seems to be centred in that area of the frontier. They don't seem to be going any further into Gibraltar, and cars can't get through anyway at the moment.
We did see quite a few motorbikes trying to head into Spain.
Heading into Spain, that was quite sweet, actually. In Gibraltar, quite a lot of scooters and bikes taking advantage of it, as you would expect.
I suppose that the crowd that we're seeing there just reflects, the amount of interest there is in the border and in our relationship with Spain. There are so many people who will be impacted by this change. We're going to turn to Christine Vasquez, who is at the border with Sir Joe Borsano.
Well, I must say I did not expect these scenes where people are just crossing in hordes to cross the frontier without a passport. We've seen motorbikes doing it, we've seen cars. I mean, the crowds crossing right now, it's absolute mayhem. But we're in a slightly quieter corner, and with me is Sir Joe Borsano, former Chief Minister and, of course, Minister for the Economy. Sir Joe, how do you feel today? Because you're the one who's perhaps known more as the Hawk.
Look, I think we're overdoing it. As far as I'm concerned, the fence has come down, but the border is still where it was before. And Spain and the European Union end in the same place, and we have not given up 1 millimeter. And the only thing that we're celebrating is that we've got normality, which only shows how abnormal everything that was before the thing. I mean, when Spain came into the European Union well after us, you could walk freely in and out of France and freely in and out of Portugal, but not freely in and out of Gibraltar. Not because we stopped it. So it's quite obvious that our neighbors haven't got round to understanding this. But we Gibraltarians will survive whatever happens. Right? But what we mustn't think is that, first of all, this is something that is changing who we are, where we are. And secondly, that it will take 6 months at least to see any benefits coming out of this, because there will have to be an adjustment in our economy, and our job as a government is to make sure that any of the changes are for Gibraltar's benefit and not for Gibraltar to be worse off.
Are you worried at all about the treaty? It was, of course, we didn't vote for Brexit. It wasn't something of our making. Are you concerned?
Well, look, I think the treaty that we've done is exceptionally good. That's why otherwise I would not have been in favor of it. The most important way to test it is that the Spain's claim in the United Nations is that they own the land up to the casemates. Okay? They have agreed that we will only allow them to step 5 meters into Gibraltar if we have the same right to do 5 meters into Spain. Okay? Except that we haven't got a claim on a kilometer of La Linea, and they have a claim of a kilometer of Gibraltar. Yeah. So I think that is the most significant thing that it has in terms of the Spanish claim, right? In terms of living as normal neighbors, we have never had a problem with that. It's up to the neighbors on the other side to accept normality. But it's important that we don't give the impression that this is going to become an overnight millionaires with a cornucopia world, because then we would find we risk creating disappointed people in La Linea if they're expecting that they are going to have the standard of living of Gibraltar, which is higher than UK.
So, Joe, look around you. Look around you. See the hordes of people going into Spain. Did you expect this?
I never go there.
But did you expect this tonight?
No, I knew it was going to happen tonight, but for me, it's no great deal. I don't particularly want to go into Spain. So the fact that there is no need to show a passport is not going to have much effect on my life. I only go to Spain when I have to have either a meeting with somebody because of something that is good for Gibraltar, or I have to get a plane from Malaga because there is no other way of doing it.
And how do you feel about the Spanish flags and the Gibraltar Español chants?
Well, I feel like...
Okay, so this is total live television. We've got the former mayor of La Linea, Juan Carmona, who was mayor, of course, with the frontier open, saying hello to Sir Joe Lozano in the middle of a live broadcast. Estamos en directo, Juan.
Somos en directo.
Estamos en directo.
Yo he venido a saludar a mi amigo y nada más, porque somos amigos hace 40 años o más.
The benefits of live television. Seguimos. Juan, me alegro verte.
Venga, a seguir. Perdonar por la interrupción.
No hay problema. Okay, we carry on.
Yes, well, you say, I mean, if anybody says to me, Gibraltar Español, I say to him, no, Gibraltar es nuestro, y ahora vamos a ir por el campo.
There are actually Spanish flags behind you as we speak.
Spanish flag we have here. Well,
if you turn around, you can see them.
I don't wrap a flag around myself, right? I don't need. I believe in the identity of the Gibraltarian, and the Gibraltarian flag is a symbol. It's what we do when we have our national day. The Spaniards are simply doing it not because it's their national day; it's their day of defeat. No, everything that to take us over today has failed. This is the day of their failure. So they've got nothing to offer, nothing to celebrate. They may have won a football match, but that's nothing to losing a war.
Thank you very much, Sir Joe Lozano. Perhaps a different point of view from what we've heard expressed earlier from politicians, but that's Sir Joe for you. He always has a different point of view.
Well, we now have our reporter Kevin Ruiz at a vantage point in La Linea. We had to stand him down earlier because of safety concerns. He's now got a view of the crowds at the frontier.
Yes, Shalina, good evening from La Linea, and rest assured, Yeah, rest assured, the entire GBC crew is safe. We have moved away because of safety concerns. We were being swamped by people who were approaching the area of the frontier. Also, we do want to mention that the Policía Nacional kindly came up to the OB van, to the satellite van, to make sure that the entire crew was okay. We believe Juan Franco also intervened and called police to make sure that the GBC crew was all right. I can assure you we're all right. We've now moved away. We're up in the TV tower, the camera tower, which gives us an aerial shot of the frontier. And we moved away as well because we're very aware. Of course, a camera can provoke a situation. People, the euphoria of the football, the flag waving, everybody's happy, ecstatic. We get all sorts of characters on a night like tonight. So we thought it best to move away up here. The camera's out of sight. We do away with that provocation as well. We've got a better shot as well. And you can see many people are now retreating. The frontier, those restrictions have now been lifted. The new normality is now in effect, where no passport is needed to cross into Gibraltar or vice versa. People have now witnessed that. They're moving along, especially those with young children, because we have had a number of families with young children and prams come to witness a historic occasion. We do have those football fans still celebrating the win, the euphoria. Of course, many under the influence of alcohol as well. The police presence on the Spanish side did step up. There's still a police presence here. People have calmed down to a degree, although there's a whole line of traffic going down the entire Avenida El Paseo and the Playa de Poniente all the way down. We don't know how far, but there is a tailback, and it's been like that for the last 10-15 minutes at least. Some traffic into Gibraltar, some delays because of the volume of traffic, as well as many Gibraltarians who have been out in Spain, La Linea, for a night out, perhaps watching that game, wanting to get back home. Some of them keeping away from the area of the frontier because it's completely swamped, and I suppose just waiting for a window when it all calms down a bit to try to get back into Gibraltar itself. Like I say, there's people coming, there's people going, people wanting to see what's happening with the restrictions are now completely lifted. Many families moving away. It's all relatively going back to some normality now, perhaps a new normality, at least on a night like this. Again, we rest assured the entire GBC crew is safe, and we'll be continuing to bring you updates from up here, from the camera tower, with view of the frontier.
Thank you, Kevin. Good to hear you're safe there. Some remarkable images as well. We now turn to the frontier again to join a man who has been involved at every stage of treaty negotiations. The Deputy Chief Minister is with Christine Vasquez.
Dr. Garcia, you've been very, very involved in the negotiations. Look around you. How do you feel?
Well, look, it's been, first of all, let me say on the negotiations, it's been a long and difficult journey, as you know. There have been lots of ups and downs. It's been a kind of roller coaster ride on many occasions. And at some point during those negotiations, we didn't know whether we would end up with a treaty or not. We've ended up with a treaty, and we feel that is the best way forward for Gibraltar. The alternative was no treaty and everything that meant. So status quo, as we've kept on saying, was not an option. We couldn't stay as we were. Either we have a treaty or we have the consequences of no treaty. So in relation to that. Secondly, in relation to what you're referring to today, look, this is unfortunately the day of a football match, so I imagine that's why people are dressed in that way.
Well, I must say, it does feel quite surreal to have Spanish flags behind us.
It's been a very surreal experience entirely today, from the beginning, flying out to Brussels and participating in the signature and in the lunch with the Commission and the Spanish and the UK delegation as well. And now coming here to Gibraltar and seeing the dismantling of part of the border and seeing people here from both sides celebrating what's going on.
There were winds of change today in Brussels. One of them was hearing the Spanish Foreign Minister actually thank the Chief Minister, and as I said earlier on one of my pieces, he was a man who actually cropped him out just over a year ago, because the treaty we've had for the agreement we've had for a year. That lunch, I believe, was very, very jovial as well. Why do you think it is?
it was a very friendly lunch today. I think the difference with the other occasions was that on every other time we were actually having negotiations. So the lunch with the papers and files and documents, discussions and arguments, so it didn't really make for a very, most of us probably ended up with indigestion after it. Now it was very different. It was a very calm experience, a very friendly one. People recounted anecdotes from the 10 years this has been going on since we voted to remain in the European Union, but the UK voted to leave. So it was anecdotes, it was sitting there having a friendly discussion and enjoying a meal.
And I suppose through the negotiations as well, everybody was keeping their cards quite close to their chest. So there was almost a sigh of relief today.
That's right, there was a tension throughout the whole process. I mean, it wasn't over until it was over, and nothing was agreed until everything was agreed. So that meant every other encounter of this nature was precisely because of that, far more tense and far more difficult. Whereas this time, on this occasion, it was very friendly, and that made a difference.
So if you had to explain how you're feeling now, today?
So I think, as I said earlier, it's been a surreal experience. I mean, none of this, you don't expect it to happen until you see it happening. And today and tomorrow, I think, will be like that. It will be almost unreal.
Just give it some time to sink in. Thank you very much for speaking to us, Deputy Chief Minister Josu Garcia.
Thank you.
Well, we turn now to Jonathan Sacramento on the Spanish side, and he's hearing from some of our neighbours who've come to the frontier tonight. Jonathan.
Okay, well, you know, the nervous energy has burst. It's gone back and forth. I do believe that what a lot of people seemed to want to do was just walk back and forth across the border freely, just because they could. And we are going to try and start. Just a few minutes ago, this was one massive wall of people moving back and forth. It's loud. There's a rather festive air, and a lot of people want to speak to us. Let's have a chat. Okay. Muchachos, ¿cómo se siente andar para arriba, para dentro y para afuera?
Una alegría, una alegría. Para allá, pesca, para allá, para Gibraltar, no tiene ni nada. Pesca, pesca.
Does anyone speak English?
Yeah, I speak un poquito.
Bueno, ¿se está divirtiendo o no?
Sí, very much, very much.
Pues nada.
Vía España y Franco también.
Well, you know, this is live TV, and some people will not behave. Let's try and grab some of the people over here, guys. English or Spanish?
Sí, Spanish.
Spanish, pasar por aquí. Háblanos de cómo ha sido su experiencia de pasar para adelante y para atrás.
Pues ha sido súper raro, pero fantástico, porque yo nací en el 69, cuando cerraron la frontera. Tengo familia aquí, venía a Gibraltar en verano, tenía que hacer 5 horas. Luego abrieron la frontera, pero encima ahora nos llevar documentación y sentirme tanto ciudadana de un lado como de otro, porque Gibraltar lo siento como mi familia, igual que mucha gente de Gibraltar siente la línea o España como parte de suyo, porque es nuestra parte visual, todo. Yo a veces digo que nosotros tenemos más cariño por la roca, en el sentido de que la vemos más que vosotros porque estáis debajo, y vosotros tenéis más cariño por nuestra montaña, porque la bahía la veis vosotros, ¿sabes? Y además estoy con los grupos de sketchers de Gibraltar también, pintando, o sea que, venga, yo muy feliz de que los llanitos tengan su sitio y nosotros el nuestro.
Vale, muchísimas gracias.
¡Vamos, Morrison!
Hola. ¿Nos quiere hablar de cómo se ha sentido usted de estar cruzando la frontera para adelante y para atrás?
Nosotros muy felices y muy contentos de que haya ocurrido por fin. Ya era hora.
Vale, muchísimas gracias. Let's try and move across to one of the vehicles if we can. Sorry, we're just bundled in. ¿Nos quiere hablar de su experiencia de...
GBC?
Yes.
I speak English, sorry.
Okay, tell us about your experience having crossed the border back and forth.
It's fun, very exciting. I think it's like the Berlin Wall coming down for me, so it's good.
Have you always lived in Spain?
Yeah, like for 17 years now. But yeah, I love both places actually. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's try and move over. We'll try and catch some of the vehicles which are crossing over. Okay. Hi. English or Spanish?
¿Qué dices?
Look at this. Tell us your thoughts of crossing over today.
I had to do it today. I did it in 85, I did it in 82, and I wasn't going to miss out on tonight. It's a very exciting evening. It's a wonderful step in the right direction, so I'm a very happy man.
Thank you very much. Let's try and move on to the next car, see what they have to say. This is a Spanish car, and we're getting a no. But maybe the next one wants to talk to us. Hola, ¿qué tal? You speak English?
Yeah, Gibraltarian.
You had a Spanish number plate. What's it like crossing the border?
Let's see how it's going to be. I can't believe it. It's a history in the making.
It's a bit crazy, isn't it?
Properly. I can't believe it.
Okay, enjoy.
Thank you. Bye.
Bueno, ¿cómo? ¿Ya habéis cruzado la frontera cuántas veces ya? ¿Cómo se sienten?
Súper bien. Y que ha ganado España el Mundial y todo. El día súper perfecto.
Pues nada, divertirse. Muchas gracias. All right, so, I mean, it was a little bit earlier on, but it seems that most people, apart from some young kids who misbehaved a little bit in our first little Vox Pop, so it seems that most people just want to have a little bit of fun and enjoy the occasion for what it is.
Jonathan Sacramento speaking to us there. Well, Christine Vasquez is also at the frontier with a well-known face on GBC television. UK representative and head of Gibraltar House in London, Jonathan Scott, is with her.
Okay, yes, so we're here at the frontier and there is a lot of noise. I'm here with my former favourite colleague who is now in London, and our man in London, a bit like our man in Havana. Jonathan Scott, you've been behind the negotiations from London as well. Did you expect this?
This is surreal. I mean, I haven't really played a part in the negotiations, but I've been watching it from close up, and this is definitely a moment. It's felt special in the build-up, and now we've got a lot of people who have crossed into the frontier on foot without having shown their passports, enjoying that fluidity that we've been looking forward to for so long, and they've been met, I think, with friendship. There's always a small part of you that worries, I think, when there are crowds and eventually you have some chants that you'd prefer not to hear, maybe in British Gibraltar. But the reality is that I suppose as football fans, the national team has just won a World Cup semi-final, which is massive, and we must congratulate them for that. It's just unfortunate timing.
It's quite strange. There's almost a competition of who has the biggest flag here. So we've seen the Gibraltar flags, the Spanish flags. Quite strange to see.
Yes, and look, we've got now those who are holding the big Spanish flags singing Viva lo Llanito, which is lovely. I mean, I've walked among the crowds, and what I've had is conviviality, that sort of friendly, neighbourly relations that we know exist between Gibraltar and La Linea, and long may that continue.
Jonathan, tell me a bit about today. How did you think Brussels went, the whole trip? And we were talking earlier with the Deputy Chief Minister about that sea change and a much better ambiente.
A much better ambiente in the negotiations. That's what we heard from the Chief Minister. I think that the hard work had been done. The difficult conversations, the technical details had been ironed out, and today was a day about sort of recognizing that it had been done. Goodwill had been shown, trust was built up over time, thanks to the Attorney General, Michael Jamas, the Gibraltar representative in Brussels, Daniel D'Amato, at an administrative level, alongside our FCDO colleagues, and of course on the political side, the Chief Minister and the Deputy Chief Minister, who have okayed every political decision in the negotiations and have made sure that it works for Gibraltar. But each side has done the same for them, so that's why it's taken so long, and that's why it's so complicated. And with all negotiations, there are compromises, and we heard those discussions in Parliament, and I'm sure we'll continue to have them, but I think everybody agrees that it's a beautiful moment.
It's a strange moment in the UK. We might have a new Prime Minister. We will have a new Prime Minister. The House will recess, Parliament will recess for the summer, and then we've got ratification. How do you see your role over the next few months towards the autumn when we have ratification? Because we'll have to put our foot on the pedal.
Well, the Chief Minister might go and give evidence in the House of Lords as part of that. And really the role of the Gibraltar House in London is to speak to MPs who are interested in understanding what the treaty contains, what it does. We always make sure that we say that Gibraltar wants it, and the Parliament voted 17-0 for it. So, you know, it's the will of the Gibraltarian people, which makes things a lot easier. And our role will be to communicate both ways. The Gibraltar message to our UK colleagues and make sure that we hear what's happening in Westminster and feed that back to the Gibraltar government here.
Okay, if you can just move to one side, I'm not very sure. Perdona, sorry. No, that's okay. So here we are. It's just a brilliant shot. We've got both flags. Johnny Walker, well known, of course, the Spanish flag and the Union Jack here at the front here. As Jonathan said, as the Deputy Chief Minister said, it's quite surreal.
Well, some remarkable images there coming through. Ros, Richard, I'd just like to get your reactions on what we're seeing there. Jonathan mentioned, we are seeing the Spanish flag, but a chant of Viva lo Janito, and I suppose it does reflect the sort of new era in relations we've been talking about for so long.
Can I comment on what happened at the time of the airport agreement in the time of Sir Joshua Hassan, where the agreement was decided between Britain and Spain behind closed doors, with Sir Joshua Hassan kept outside. And then once it agreed it, they opened the door, got Hassan in, and got the photographs, said, well, we've now got the agreement. And so he was surprised into having to agree something that he had not been involved in negotiating, discussing, or preparing in any manner or form. And we compare that with this occasion, where at every stage, Gibraltar has been involved in the negotiation, in the discussions, in the arriving at the final texts. So it's a sea change from one to the other.
I think it's important also that people bear in mind that they can chant Gibraltar Español as much as they want, but it isn't. And I think it's just the euphoria of the moment with the football. It does look very good-natured there. I mean,
some nice people that Jonathan has spoken
exactly.
to as well.
It looks like a nice party atmosphere. I think maybe some people did overreact a little bit. They are still not very palatable scenes. But, as I say, it could just be the euphoria of the moment. People are saying it's disgraceful. They're not happy about seeing it. Will it last? Is it just going to be a flash in the pan, and then everything goes back to normal? The majority of people are, convivial.
And those are our viewers commenting on some of the images that they're seeing, right?
Yeah.
Through GBC News. I suppose the sheer volume of people that you're seeing here is quite remarkable as well. I didn't expect to be so busy.
Sir Joe Bolsano's saying there that, the borders are still there. The border is open, but Gibraltar's land is still Gibraltar's land, Spain's land is still Spain's land, and nothing has changed there.
Yes, I think it's very important actually to emphasise that both sides have all the time commented and stated that the nationality, the sovereignty of Gibraltar is exactly as it was before, and was going to continue in exactly the same way, and Spain's sovereignty is still exactly the same, and the fact we've got fluidity does not advance Spain's claim on Gibraltar in any manner or form.
Exactly.
The Spanish Foreign Minister said earlier, the sovereignty claim remains unchanged, but the agreement is about coexistence.
Yeah. I want to ask Richard about the fact that we've seen so many times in Gibraltar's history that have been very, very challenging, and Gibraltarians have always risen to the challenge. The evacuation, the Brussels Agreement, the airport agreement, all those the joint sovereignty talks. And every time Gibraltarians have have come on top. They've always, moved forward and not allowed these hurdles to bring us down in any way. So do you see this as just yet another one of those little glitches? Not a glitch in the sense that the treaty itself, but in the reactions that we are seeing and the opportunism perhaps that might arise from it?
Yeah, well, I think we've got to first of all reflect that Gibraltar's greatest asset is the Gibraltarian. It is the people who will find ways and means of making something work to our advantage. And it is our resilience and our embracing change and making change work that has allowed us to survive as long as we have. You may recall that when the frontier was closed by General Franco, he said that Gibraltar would fall like a ripe plum into Spanish hands. And of course, he was wrong.
And he's still wrong.
Exactly, because Gibraltar will never fall into anybody's hands unless the people of Gibraltar wish it to be so. And at the moment, and always, the position of the people of Gibraltar has been that we are British, we want to remain British, and for the foreseeable future, we will want to continue to be British, and we will be. So it means that we are able, in that sense, to shape our destiny and our future. So it is by finding ways and means of making this work to our advantage that we will move forward. So we don't yet know what those challenges are going to mean in practice. It takes time for that to happen.
In the moment.
And then we will find ways of making sure that that works.
In the moment, though, we are getting a lot of very, very strong reactions from people who are not happy with the scenes that they've seen. I have chest pain, que vergüenza. You have a weird sense of party, crying emojis. Where is our future security if people come in hordes with no control? How scary. Also, some more messages coming in here. Just reading some of these to you. Yeah, actually, that's a repeat of what I've just read.
It is official and signed. Gibraltar will never be Spanish. The Spanish government has fully accepted that. It's nothing more than provocative. So
it is official and signed. Gibraltar will never be Spanish. You've just read that one.
Exactly.
We're getting the same messages here.
They win the match and they come to taunt us. They're obsessed, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So some mixed reactions there on some of the images that we're seeing.
Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words shall never hurt me. A very good English saying there. And I think people just need to bear that in mind, don't they? They can say what they want, but we know that
Gibraltar will never be.
Exactly. So, Richard, what are your thoughts seeing these images then? After, a historian, you've seen and learnt so much over the years. What are your thoughts tonight?
Well, I think that the Gibraltarian will come out on top, as we always have. So we don't yet know what the challenges ahead of us are going to mean in practice. It's going to take time. Obviously, the initial reaction is going to be over the top on the part of extremists. That, in a way, is to be expected. But we shouldn't fall victim to believing that these isolated voices are representative of the totality of our neighbours, and that deep down, I think that some of the voices we've heard in the reporting so far have suggested that there is a welcoming on the Spanish side of normality. Sir Joe Bassano commented that it's the first time we've actually got a normal frontier between Gibraltar and Spain. And that, for some people on the Spanish side, is very worrying for them, because it does put paid to a great degree to their claim over Gibraltar, because we now have this normality and an acceptance that there is a difference when you cross that particular line. You don't need a passport to cross it, you don't need an ID card, but that line is still there. And you are crossing from Spain into Gibraltar, or from Gibraltar into Spain. So we have not forfeited anything in terms of our identity, our nationality, our sovereignty, our jurisdiction.
And I think it's very important to just remind viewers there of the security, enhanced security at the frontier. We have facial recognition, we have automated number plate recognition.
We've seen many cameras in Main Street
CCTV,
as well.
Police presence at the frontier, so there is enhanced security as well to go along with that.
Well, we now return to Kevin Ruiz. He's in La Línea, where the atmosphere is still going strong. Kevin, what's the latest?
Well, yes, Shalina, it's starting to die down now. We see many people who came to the frontier on foot, pedestrians. They have mostly now moved away and retreated. We see many families leave. We've seen many of those football fans leave the area. But I'll tell you what, I like being first with the news. Now that the frontier restrictions are being lifted, I'm the first to report that there are long delays if you're traveling to Gibraltar, despite no frontier restrictions, because at the minute, the car queue into Gibraltar is substantial. There's a trail of cars wanting to come into Gib. Traffic is almost at a halt because, of course, of that volume. There's no longer any restrictions at the frontier. No frontier restrictions apply. And we've also got a long trail of cars still driving by, celebrating that win, and up the Paseo de Poniente here in La Línea. But as you can see, most of those pedestrians, those people who came on foot to the frontier, a curiosear, they've now moved away. It's all been done. They've seen, they've gone into Gibraltar, they've done their bit, and now they're going back home, all continuing the celebrations in the very heart of La Línea, where the football success is being celebrated. As you can see, it's now dying down. The noise has quietened. The police presence remains in place. I think you can see the police vehicles there in the compound. We've seen police officers patrol what used to be the sterile area, the area of Aduanas and the Policía Nacional. No longer a sterile area, but they've been patrolling the area, especially when we got that huge crowd of people swamping the area, of course. As for now, I think we're just going to be waiting here, see how things die down, and I'm confident they probably will die down in the next 20, 30 minutes, no doubt.
Thank you, Kevin. Well, down at the frontier, we've heard from the Chief Minister and other government ministers. Now, Christine Vasquez is joined by the opposition, the GSD's Damon Bocino and Edwin Reyes.
Well, here we are with two opposition members, Edwin Reyes and Damon Bocino. Mr. Bocino, how are you feeling today? What are your views?
Well, I think the way you phrased your question is very important. How am I feeling today and what are my views? In terms of feeling emotionally, this is a hugely emotional moment. We are seeing a barrier which has been so used and abused by the Spanish authorities against us, creating queues and creating problems and creating economic problems and social problems for us, being brought down once and for all. So in that sense, despite all the reservations that we have had in relation to the treaty, despite all the reservations that we have had in relation to the concordat between the UK and Gibraltar, we are here today in order to support this historical moment for Gibraltar and indeed for nearby Spain. And I want to send a message of hope to the people of Gibraltar, that I fully understand the same fears that we have. I said it in Parliament when I made my contribution during the budget speech, which was budget debate, which was I was broadly in favour of the deal, but when I saw these things coming down, I immediately felt a sense of fear almost. I need to be absolutely frank and honest with you. But I think we need to be positive. I've got this gut feeling that this will be a good thing for Gibraltar and a good thing indeed for the rest of the Campo de Gibraltar.
You mentioned the reservations and, of course, the statement from the government today. And as you say, perhaps tonight, not the night to start talking heavy politics. But the reservation was that the Concordat doesn't go far enough. And, of course, that phrase of exceptional circumstances, which we will look at in the future. So,
well, this is the thing. That's wording which we weren't happy with. It was somewhat, our concerns were somewhat assuaged because of the letter that we received, that we saw from Stephen Doughty. We received a draft before it was published, but we would much rather have had the publication of these documents before the signing. I think that would have been a more respectful way, given the terms of the motion that we passed. Let's not forget that Parliament passed this on a unanimous basis, which was subject to the caveat that we, as a Parliament, were satisfied about the terms that were in the Concordat. But look, we hope to be the government in the next year. And if we are to assume office and to assume power, we will make sure that, well, people are celebrating here, we will make sure that we discuss and enter into negotiations and discussions with the UK government in order to have the things which are in Mr. Doughty's letter set out substantively and firmly in the terms of the Concordat.
Mr. Reyes, how do you feel today? Did you expect this? Because we all knew there was football, but we just had chants of Somos Vecinos. You know, there's been quite lovely moments as well.
Look, my own personal emotions. I am of that age where I remember standing just a few meters from here with my late father when the frontier closed. I remember Spanish workers who worked alongside my father. We gave them a lift to the frontier and they were actually crying. They were crying because their dictator took their livelihood away. They were crying because they were leaving their friends. In many cases, they were leaving their close relatives behind. But I also remember a few days before that comradeship that existed between the ordinary citizen, the ordinary resident in La Línea and the Campo area, where we were friends. Yeah, we rejoiced together, we cried together when we had to. If I make myself positive, then there's no reason why that atmosphere cannot return again in the future. I was a bit worried at one stage, you know, are we going to have an invasion of Spanish flags and a repetition of the Spanish football players, libertad, but yet a lot came in and started waving the flag saying Somos Vecinos.
Yes. I recorded it on the mobile for posterity.
If that is what the present generation can give us a signal, then I'm hopeful for the future.
I think it's a sense of development and of maturity, I think, on behalf of both communities on both sides of the frontier, that we can, in Gibraltar, see the Spanish flags and see it for what it is. Look, we're British, we're very proud to be British, and we maintain our British sovereignty and our British way of life and our British judicial system, political system, language, and all the rest of it. But, you know, we don't have an issue with the Spanish flag. They're not necessarily our enemies. But we need to be very careful that our identity does not change. We're not going to be defined by the frontier that was here before. Gibraltar and the Gibraltarians are much more than a border and a frontier.
Yes, yes. Even, I mean, I had relatives like my paternal grandmother. She was born in Spain, but because she lived in Gibraltar, she felt as British as anyone else, and she hardly knew more than 5 words in English. And that's what can easily happen.
You've got the Spanish and the British flags behind you as you speak. You can look back and enjoy it. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me this evening. Thank you.
Christine Vasquez speaking to the GSD's Damon Bocino and Edwin Reyes. There's some very personal reflections from both the GSD members there, Ros.
Yeah, we just report what we see on the ground and what we hear on the ground, and that is exactly what our reporters Kevin, Christine and Jonathan Sacramento have been seeing and reporting. There is a lot of celebration there, a lot of good spirit as well. We've heard we've seen some scenes where they perhaps got a bit over-enthusiastic bang on 12 o'clock, but largely it seems to be well-natured. And I was just thinking, in a year's time, we will be reflecting back on tonight's images, and I wonder how far we will have travelled in that next year. And I think we just have to be patient, hold on to our identity and not allow ourselves to feel threatened by chants and flags. And you know, I do think that I just don't think we can predict where we're going to go, but I don't think necessarily we should judge it on some of the scenes that we've seen tonight.
Absolutely, and alongside some of those negative scenes have been some very positive ones too. Richard, we've spoken about some of the obstacles that Gibraltar has faced throughout its history with Spain. Do you see another obstacle for us now? Is this a start of maybe less of those adversities?
Well, I think it will be sort of something that over time will quieten down. That's what history tells us. I'm reminded that whenever there was a change of military governor in Algeciras, he would come and pay a courtesy visit on the governor of Gibraltar. They would play the Spanish national anthem in Gibraltar. They would fly the Spanish flag for the Spanish general. They would have the troops out and saluting the Spanish general. So this was something that was normal in the past. It wasn't normal in the 1960s and afterwards, but it was for many, many years in the early years of the 20th century. So things can be different. I think what we have now is a new opportunity. What we make of it is what's going to determine how things are going to pan out in the future, what we make of it. So it's up to us to seize new opportunities.
Well, what a day and what a night for Gibraltar. Our news editor, Christine Vasquez, was in Brussels for the signing this morning and is still in the heart of things at the frontier, along with Jonathan Sacramento, who's spoken to people in La Línea.
Yes, here we are. It's starting to slightly empty out, but still very good ambiente. I know that I said at one point that it felt there was a slight tension. I think that tension has gone. There's been, as we spoke earlier, all this somos vecino, all this neighborly thing. And Jonathan, we just heard a happy birthday in both cumpleaños feliz and happy birthday, which has been quite sweet.
I tell you what, that's a birthday someone will never forget. That to be able to celebrate it in such an unusual but also quite a seminal moment. Yeah, I do concur with what you were saying. I was right on that border when the Spanish throng was starting to push in and there was a little bit of nervousness. But I think that popped. It popped the moment people streamed in. You know, it was allowed to flow, people went in and out, and the initial... I mean, look, there were a few unsavory comments made, and there's still a little bit of provocative flags being flown. But look, I'm sure it was bound to happen at some point during the course of the night, but we haven't seen the worst of what could have been expected. You know, I think this is as good as it could have gone.
Well, the other day we were actually saying that one of the things that we feared would be a Spain-England final. And even tomorrow, because we are suddenly hearing 40 years later, whatever it is, Las Malvinas, you know, and we are having England play Argentina. So, bit dodgy that as well.
I'd like to think that there are people in Argentina and the Falkland Islands thinking, we could really do with a piece of that right now. Good neighborly relations. But yeah, no, absolutely. Whenever there are sovereignty issues at stake, there's always going to be a little bit of tension, especially in moments like this. But like I said, I mean, it's been kind of convivial, hasn't it? It's just been like flowing back and forth, people talking to each other. There were moments of tension here and there. But again, it's been an odd night. It's been an odd night.
And it's quite funny. We've just seen customs sort of walking around aimlessly. It's almost like they don't know where to go tomorrow.
Yeah. It's a change. It's a change for them as well. It's a change for them. It's a change for the employees at the Gibraltar Air Terminal. It's a change for borders and coast guards. I mean, these are the people on the ground who are feeling it perhaps more vividly and more physically than anyone else. So yeah, absolutely. It's just
no change for us because we're here again tomorrow. We're here again tomorrow morning.
Absolutely. It's been a crazy day, perhaps for you more than most. I'm sure at some point you don't even know which country you're in anymore. But yeah, absolutely. Tomorrow's from 11:30. We'll be back on another live broadcast because, of course, it's the day where it's all happening for the first time. Of course, this is like the midnight, the rush. But tomorrow, it's all happening as part of the, part of the day-to-day now.
Well, actually, because we have got tomorrow the 13th moving to the 15th. So everything that we expected on the 13th, that was a visit from the Spanish Premier, Pedro Sánchez. the Spanish Foreign Minister, José Manuel Álvarez. We'll expect them both here today. They're having their own celebration, from what I've learned, and I mean, I'm totally picking up fag ends here. I think there's going to be a marquee on the Spanish side of the frontier, but there will be some sort of celebration with Gibraltar, some sort of contact. We're not very sure what it's going to be. So more fun and games tomorrow, Jonathan.
And as far as we know, that visit is still on. It's still happening. It's going to be, again, surreal. But it's just kind of part of a bit of a block of days where everything has felt really surreal. I've spoken to quite a few people on the ground, a lot of them from different generations, from different ages, and they remember different things about what cross-border life has been. For some people, they remember that most of their lives, the border was closed for the younger part of their lives. And then I've spoken to a few school friends as well tonight, reflecting on the closed frontier that we grew up with when we were children. And it's just surreal to think that this is happening now. And it's bizarre.
It has been a really historic day, a really historic night. And in 20 years' time, 30 years' time, we'll be watching ourselves again on Rewind and thinking, didn't we look good then?
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Christine. History in the making, truly, but now the future unfolds. Well, that's all from the GBC News team on a truly historic night with some controversial scenes. 10 years from Brexit, the UK-EU Treaty for Gibraltar was signed, and just over an hour ago it was put into provisional effect, bringing an end to frontier controls and drawing crowds to the area. What will come next for The Rock? We'll find out in the coming days, and GBC will be here to bring you the latest. Tomorrow morning, The Breakfast Show on Radio Gibraltar will once again be broadcast on GBC television with live reports from the frontier as Gibraltar wakes up to a new era. Our news coverage continues at 11:30 in the morning as we expect Pedro Sanchez to visit the frontier. For now, we leave you with images of today's momentous events. Thanks for watching.
Of the Borders and Coast Guard Agency of Gibraltar. Please thank your officers for an excellent job, well done, and ask them to withdraw.